Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Expectations with me, Craig. I know what you're thinking. It's been a while. You thought I disappeared off the face of the earth. Quite the opposite, actually. I moved to a different corner of the earth. I moved from Malaysia to England, and I've just been so busy with that move, adjusting back home here in England. And yeah, it's been a big move, a lot of things to get through. So I left the show in the very capable and reliable hands of FPL Nitro, who's done an absolutely fantastic job in my absence. But I'm back, and I'm here to navigate this small double game week 23. But first, I've got to introduce my guest, who is none other than the reliable FPL Nitro. Nitro, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, Craig. It's very good to have you back. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be talking about FPL. Quick succession of game weeks. So yeah, it's good to be back.
I mean, everyone said, you're taking the show onto a new level since I've left. But it's good to have you on this side of the screen because we can dig a little bit more into your team and what you're thinking, and how you've moved up and down in that space of, I think it's a month since I've done the show, we can really get into it, and I can ask you a lot of questions, which I'm sure the FPL community would like answered. But first, before we get into all that, we're going to do the normal thing, which is preview double game week 22. And how was that for you, Nitro? I mean, for me personally, it was, I can't say it was bad. I can't say it was bad. I was above the average. I got 61 points with no hits taken. The only bad thing was that I viced Bruno. And there was a bit of news just before the Brentford match that Ronaldo might not play, might still be carrying that injury. However, he did play, and he blanked, which wasn't good. So it was, in terms of captaincy, it wasn't a good week for me. But I did bring in Bruno for that game week, so it was a good transfer. I got 61 points, isn't the worst in the world. But it was decent. What about yourself?
It was a green arrow, right, Craig?
Funnily enough, it was a green arrow in all, most of my mini leagues. However, it was a red arrow in terms of overall rank, which I didn't get because I think I was 10 points above the average. And when I was on live FPL rank and I looked at it, I think the top 10k managers got about the same points as me. So just struggling. And I don't think a lot of people would have captained Bruno or even had him in their teams. So I really don't understand how it was a small red arrow, but it was a small red arrow. Very, very, very small. I'm talking about a few hundred places dropped, but red arrow, I couldn't understand how, but anyway, it was one of those weeks which was a bit all over the place anyway. But let's get into your team, and you can tell us how you did for game week 22.
It's the slow fall from grace from the 174 overall rank. I think it's the 5th or 4th red arrow in a row. This is 54 points with a hit as well. I took a hit, so I barely scraped the average. De Gea, a lot of these guys are very highly owned, and the differentials didn't really pay off. I did not have Bruno. I tinkered with the idea of him, and I thought, I'm going to just play it safe and go with Ronaldo. And so anyone who had Bruno, including yourself, Craig, fair play, because I did not have the guts to go for Bruno. And look how that played out. He ended up getting a couple assists, and then he got 2 assists in
2 goals.
The second game. So, oh my goodness, if you captain him, that's like a monster of a haul.
Definitely. Talk about differentials. That would have been right there, right? Because
that would have been a huge differential. But the highly owned players, Trent, Cancelo, they returned. Bowen, I think he's considered pretty highly owned at this point. A lot of postponements during the week. We got Reguilon, who didn't have the North London derby. King's match was postponed to. And, of course, Loughton, who was meant to have 2, ended up not playing at all.
Absolutely horrendous if you played a free hit chip, to kind of get all those double game week players into your team. But I mean, yeah, it was a funny week, wasn't it? A really, really funny double game week. Like you said, match postponements. I mean, it's becoming a norm now. It just makes it so hard as an FPL manager to kind of organize your team. I mean, we'll go into this a little bit later, but even like the double game week that's been announced today, I think like as of last night, everyone was expecting Aston Villa to get that double game week. And it was either they played Leeds or Burnley, I think it was, it was Burnley or Watford or something like that. And everyone was so certain that it was going to be Aston Villa. I mean, we're talking about, when I say everyone's so certain, we take the words of the obviously the FPL gods, which are, your Ben Krellins, your Andys, and even they've got it. They didn't see this coming. I mean, there was no mention of a Burnley and Watford double game week 23, but that's what we have. And how do you arrange it? I mean, we'll come into that a little bit more when we talk about double game week 23, actually. But then it begs the question, like, how do you organize your team? I mean, it's not something you want to clamor to get Burnley and Watford players in, do you? You wouldn't want a bunch of them in your team anyway. So and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I mean, going back to 22, I mean, how did those postponements really affect you? I mean, obviously you had Reguilon. I mean, you didn't have Kane, but I think a lot of FPL managers did go, 3 Spurs or something like that.
And Kane ended up not being such a terrible move either, because despite having one, he still outscored Ronaldo, who played 2. So actually, he didn't really play the first one. He played.
Yeah, he didn't play the first one. Yeah, he played one game, but I mean, was it a goal and 2 assists or something like that against Leicester? And the second of that coming, obviously, I mean, in the last few minutes.
Right. Yeah. I think the King one is pretty annoying because, well, if you have Dennis, then Dennis too, because their fixtures were like stellar. It was
correct.
It was a Burnley and something like that. A really nice, the best. Oh, Newcastle, the 2 best fixtures, arguably, but then they one of them got postponed. So I was really hoping Trossard could pull something off because I took a hit for him. And I took a hit for him
as well.
His fixtures weren't like amazing, but they were definitely more secure, like compared to Burnley with all the speculation and the North London derby. So I guess it didn't pull out. I did hear though that he statistically had a couple of chances, which means he was somewhat unlucky to not return or register anything. But it is what it is, right? It is what it is.
I mean, you just got to roll with it, right? Pretty much.
Got to roll with it, exactly.
Okay, so generally, all in all, happy with that game week 22, or you feel maybe the Trossard hit, could have been, the money could have been spent better elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the Bruno haul because I'm just blown away. I remember the first game. It was Villa, right? The morning after, I woke up and I was so excited. Oh, surely my captain Ronaldo has returned.
Done something,
he didn't even play. And then they go on to have a goal fest, 2-2. And guess who scores? It's Bruno.
Yeah.
It's obviously a game of hindsight, but I had Son for, I think, Trossard. And I was really tempted to do Son to Bruno. And just have him as like a placeholder, as a premium placeholder, and then just slap the armband on him.
I mean, that was pretty much my thinking when I picked Bruno. I mean, the one thing I did was the reason why I picked Bruno. And it's not like he showed fantastic form going into this double game week, but I knew I really wanted another United player, and I mean, I'm not going to take Rashford due to his, I just didn't know if he was going to play or not. I didn't know if Greenwood was going to play or not. I didn't know if Sancho was going to play or not. I mean, they're all, one of them would play, but would they play both matches? I don't know. But I looked at Bruno and said he's about as nailed on as can be. I mean, the other 2, Fred and McTominay, nailed on, but, do you want to play them? Do you want to bring them into your team? Probably not. I think McTominay missed the Villa match, actually, because he was suspended. But you get what I'm saying, right? Bruno is probably the most nailed on out of all those attacking players. And so I thought, placeholder as well, get him in there and just see what he does, And obviously, I didn't have enough confidence in his form to captain him, but I, just played him as vice just in case, because there was a bit of rumors about Ronaldo, and you just didn't know what to make of it, So yeah, and I was expecting a little bit more for the Brentford
and Bruno.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I captained Ronaldo.
Okay.
Yeah, I captained Ronaldo and vice Bruno. So yeah, it kind of backfired because I was really expecting Ronaldo to do something against Brentford anyway, even if he missed the Villa match, which I knew he might because of all the stories that were coming out. So yeah, it was just one of those, and obviously Bruno hauled and got those points, but didn't get the captaincy points. But it is what it is,
You were probably hoping Ronaldo was rested for the Brentford match.
Oh, as well, I was, 100%. I was absolutely 100% because I would have definitely taken those 2 Declan Rice points and and just had those captaincy points off Bruno. But even when I saw his name in the starting lineup, because I was convinced United would get goals against Brentford because they haven't been too great at the back. But I expected him to get a return at the very least, but it just wasn't to be. He wasn't good enough. So it's something that I'm really looking at towards the upcoming game week as well. Do I keep the faith in Ronaldo, or do I make or to take him out of the team? So I'll be asking you that question a little bit later on. So let's not hang about. Let's go to double game week 23, and funny one. I mean, I was just saying earlier on, it was a very, very late announcement that there is going to be a double game week this week. And the funny thing is that it's not who everyone was expecting. Everyone was expecting Aston Villa. And I know a lot of people transferred in Aston Villa players in preparation for this double game week. But it's been revealed that it's Burnley and Watford. Talk us through that, Nitro.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Villa as well. I write the transfer trends series on All About FPL, and I think the top transfer trend is Coutinho. He's a really, really hot prospect, despite only playing like 22 minutes. He did get his goal in his debut, and so I was like, okay, he's putting up good numbers despite his limited amount of playing time. And then now we see that Villa's only got 1 fixture. It's against Everton. It's all right, but obviously a double is what we all expected. So now, it's just kind of thrown. And you said this earlier, Craig, that we are FPL gods. We're also all predicting a Villa double game week. Who would have thought? It's Watford and Burnley. I still think Watford's fixtures are really, really nice. If anything, they're probably the ones to target. I very fortunately have Burnley, some form of Burnley coverage in the form of Loughton. And honestly, I don't think I would go anywhere else in terms of the Burnley squad other than Loughton. It would probably be some sort of Watford, so King and the Dennis double up maybe. But those are my thoughts on the double game week so far.
I mean, are you one of those managers that's willing to bring? I mean, Burnley haven't been great this season. Watford, probably not from a defensive point of view, but from an attacking point of view, you mentioned King and Dennis, probably one of them or even both. For the managers out there that don't really have many of these players or any, what's the advice there? Would you bring them in? Do you go hard on them? Do you just bring maybe either Dennis or King? Remember, there's no Ismail Assar as well. So, I mean, that goes out. Burnley from an attacking point of view. McNeil, maybe? I mean, you're really scraping here. Ashley Barnes. I mean, that's what it's got to, right? Cornet's away, obviously. So he's not going to be featured. I mean, that would have been mine, actually, if I'm being honest with you. I brought Cornet in earlier on in the season and didn't really work out as a transfer. But, knowing that Burnley have a double, I mean, he'd be a player that I'd be looking to get in. But since he's not available, who would be the players that that people go hard on?
I would say if you don't have any form of Burnley, you can see here that I already have Loughton.
Yeah.
If you have Loughton, obviously you want to play him. Yeah. If you don't have any form of Burnley, I would not be in a hurry to cash in on any Burnley players. You mentioned, do you get either King or Dennis, right? I think the majority of us either have some form of a Watford striker. You either have a King you have a Dennis or you have both. If you have both, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You would probably want to play both. If you only have one, like myself, as you can see here, I have King and I've had King since my Gameweek 20 wildcard. I wouldn't be in a rush to get the second striker. I wouldn't be in a rush to double up on Dennis either. This could be an FPL moment that precedes an unfortunate event, but I think it would be in your best interest because if I were to get Dennis, I would use my free transfer. He would be coming from Broja. I think it would give us a lot of power to have 2 free transfers in Game Week 24. I don't know, just with how things are going and how crazy things can be, I've just taken a hit. I feel like it's sensible to roll. And I have some form of Watford. I have some form of Burnley. I think I'm pretty okay. Because they're not like, as you mentioned, they're not great teams to really like go hard on, Like I wouldn't trust Watford. Definitely wouldn't trust Burnley. So I wouldn't be in a hurry to really go in on both teams.
All right. So you talk about that, but we haven't talked about the date of when the second game is going to be played between Burnley and Watford, and that is in February, early February sometime.
So okay, that's a good point.
So obviously we've seen, a lot of games that have been meant to be a lot closer than that, in the space of a few days being cancelled. You've got to take that into consideration. The way this season has gone on so far, even just last week, with the Spurs match being cancelled, and then it just throws you off, doesn't it? And are we prepared to bring these players in and then kind of pray that no games get cancelled? It's a long period. It's a couple of weeks, I think, or maybe a week.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah. If I'm taking that plunge to bring in, okay, I'll take maybe a Burnley player and a Watford player or something like that, or 2 Watford players. You got to be pretty certain that this game's going ahead, because I'd expect you be taking out some key players, in your side to kind of fill in those spaces.
Yeah, and also, I guess something else you could argue is because this game is so, I would like to say it's a good amount of time from this batch of games. You could argue that Burnley have had issues with having enough fit players. It should, increase the likelihood that this game should continue, because then they'll have enough time to rest, to recover and whatnot, provided there's no extenuating circumstance that comes around. But that's my perspective. I feel like they have to play a game, though. Burnley can't hide forever.
Well, but
they have
Burnley,
so many games in hand.
Exactly. Fine. I was just going to say they've got a lot. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's out of their hands, right? If it's Watford are the ones that say, hey, look, we've got too many cases here. The game can't go ahead. That throws everything out the window. So, that's a risk you have to be willing to take, obviously, right?
Yeah, definitely. And especially now, this is just the norm. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, tough times ahead for FPL managers. I'm sure you're all scratching your heads since the announcement. For me, it's just the lack of players to be able to choose from in terms of quality. You don't want to be bringing in like Brown Hills and Sissoko's and things like that just for the sake of doing it. But while we're talking about the double game weeks and you've highlighted some players that we could potentially be looking at, how about the focus? Let's switch it over to the single game week players and ones that have a good chance to haul.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk, at least on Twitter, about Rafinha and Leeds versus Newcastle. 2, I would like to say, not very strong teams, but in the last couple of game weeks, Rafinha has been putting up pretty decent numbers. He's very talismanic for the Leeds side. I don't have clear-cut numbers on his attack, but he would be the key man asset that you can target in this Newcastle Leeds side. Newcastle haven't been very good under Eddie Howe, and I think at home as well for Leeds, this should be a game that Leeds will definitely want to capitalize on. Other than that, I wouldn't look at anyone else. Rafinha should be the main person you look at here for this fixture in particular. This fixture here, Southampton and City, is a pretty good one.
I'm just going to go back to the Leeds match and just stop you there. Jack Harrison hat-trick last week, though.
Oh, yeah.
Tempted or not?
I still think Rafinha is the better option, numbers-wise, and just in terms of safety. I think Rafinha is probably better. Harrison, I mean, his fair play with the hat trick, but I don't know. I feel like Harrison. I think we've had this debate last season too. Harrison versus Rafinha towards the end of the season, and we tend to lean towards Rafinha simply because of the consistency.
Set pieces as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I say this, and Harrison can very well do well, and then we have nothing.
See, the thing, like when I think about it, right? I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. I think Rafinha is by far the better player. I mean, it's not even close. But I mean, to score 1 goal, I understand. To score 2, all right, but score a hat trick in a game. I mean, you don't really get fluky hat tricks, right? I mean, you got to be doing something right. Whether it's getting into the right positions, so it's something that it's a massive differential if you go for Harrison over Rafinha. The only thing why I'd stay away is just for set pieces, whether it's, free kicks, corners and penalties and all that. Rafinha seems to be a majority of them. And that's probably the only thing that keeps me away from him. But he must be absolutely buzzing and flying around in training now after that hat trick.
Yeah,
his confidence would have gone sky high, and I wouldn't rule him out as an option. You said there's only Rafinha, and he wouldn't look, anywhere else. Obviously, Bamford was there. I'm sure he'd come under some consideration. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think if you can't afford Rafinha, if you're struggling, with money, I think Harrison's a decent shout.
Just upon the grand scheme of things, if you look at an overview, we pull up Harrison and you look at his last couple of game weeks. Obviously, he's had this hat trick, monster of a haul, and he has his goal. That's pretty good. But you look at all this, and it doesn't look very enticing, at least for me. Yeah. These two fixtures, you can see that they're against defensively weaker teams. These guys, it's, you know what? They're pretty tough fixtures, and Leeds have definitely struggled in some of them. But then you look at Rafinha, and he shows that element of some form of attacking consistency, a return there, something here, right? For me, that looks a little bit better because they play the same fixtures. You can see minutes-wise, Rafinha is a little bit more nailed, and he's just provided that consistency. I do not have this accurate numbers in terms of shots in the box and stuff like that, but just off a glance, it looks like Rafinha would probably be the better choice from the Leeds side.
Yeah, and I think Roger Shane kind of echoes my thoughts there. There's a lot of talk around Rafinha, not enough about Harrison. I think, like I said, I can understand why most managers would lean towards Rafinha, and I probably would too as an FPL manager. But what I'm saying is that if you don't have the funds to do Rafinha, Harrison might not be a bad choice. So, Roger, I hope that helps you as well if you're looking for a cheaper option than Rafinha. And we'll come to most of your questions, as I mentioned, later on in the show. Okay, so we got that. You were coming on to City versus Southampton. Talk us through that fiction. Who's catching your eye?
City have a really good run of fixtures. Let me just pull it up real quick. And I just wanted to say to Craig, that was a really good point, by the way. If you can't make the funds to do Rafinha, Harrison is not that terrible of a punt. It's not crazy. It's not outrageous. You can have a bit of fun in the game, so I totally agree. That's a really good-looking couple of fixtures for City, arguably one of the better teams defensively. They've steered, I think, 13 points clear of Liverpool, so the confidence is there. They're riding on the momentum. And, I think these games are going to be quite important for them to extend that gap even further. So the likes of Laporte, everyone has Cancelo at this point. So if you want to double up on the defense to get that extra boost in differentials, Laporte's pretty good. I think he plays for Pep, but I would say he's somewhat nailed. Diaz got benched the other day, I think. So it's just
surprising.
kind of.
I was actually at that match. I was at that match.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And, the one that you went to.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "You sure you would bench Diaz ahead of ahead of the Chelsea match? It's a big match, right?" But they got the clean sheets, and they were comfortable, very comfortable in the match.
Yeah. So yeah, Laporte would be one. I think there's a lot of talk in the midfield, particularly the likes of KDB, a very expensive option, but I think he's worth his price tag. He scored a really good goal against Chelsea, and we know KDB. He's very talismanic. He's involved in the attack, very good, very important to the City side. If you have a Foden, he's pretty good too. He plays the false nine role. Silva, I don't know. He's kind of gone under the radar a bit, but if you still have him, maybe worth keeping him for the run. But yeah, I think for me, KDB would be the best one if you have money. If not, a defensive double up with Laporte isn't too bad of a shout.
I mean, we got to ask the question. I mean, you talked about these two players actually in KDB and Foden. Which one should we be looking at? I mean, obviously KDB was absolutely outstanding against Chelsea, but Foden's playing in that central role up front. You would say KDB is probably more nailed on than Foden. I think that's fair to say.
That's fair to say.
Yeah. Which one would you be looking at? I mean, knowing that KDB has this kind of free role between the attack and midfield. Foden is, essentially out there up front. There's a big difference in terms of price tag on each of them. Who would you be leaning towards?
That's a good point. I think Foden's going to edge it slightly because of value. I think if you have the privilege of bringing in KDB at his price, then that should be a no-brainer. But I think a lot of us don't because we're probably holding on to a Bruno, a Salah, a Ronaldo who's taken up a lot of money. So Foden presents pretty decent value at his price, and he plays up top. So I think he'd be a pretty good shout. I would lean towards him more.
Okay. So for Foden, any other fixtures that grab your attention and potential plays that we should be looking at to bring in for double game week 23?
The United fixture and the Liverpool fixture, pretty big teams, but I feel like a lot of us have the majority of the players that are standout options. For the Liverpool game, obviously we got Trent and Jota at this point. I think a lot of us have. And to be honest, Jota might be a pretty decent captain shout, but if you have a double game weeker, I think you would probably want to go with them. United versus West Ham. West Ham are not very good defensively, and I would like to imagine as a Ronaldo owner that Ronaldo wants to get back in, get back on the score sheet. At least that's the hope. If you have Bruno, it's definitely worth keeping him. He's going to maybe ride on his momentum and his form. I think having a bit of coverage for this United West Ham match is pretty good. So, so the main fixtures, I guess we can say single fixtures, the Leeds, Newcastle, United, West Ham, the City, Southampton, and Liverpool, Palace. These ones are pretty good to target.
I mean, we expect goals in this United West Ham game, which I'll be going to as well, by the way.
Look at you.
That's the beauty of being back here in England. You get to go watch these live Premier League matches, and it's been great so far. But I mean, we expect goals in this match. I would think, with West Ham's attack, United's bad defense, and vice versa as well. Do you see any sense in keeping Ronaldo, or because of his form right now and how he played against Brentford, is he someone that you might look to take out and maybe bring in? I don't know, take a gamble somewhere else in the fixtures. Nothing pops out to me so far. I was going to say Kane, but it's a tough match against Chelsea as well.
I would say if you have some form of United attack, whether that's a Ronaldo, a Bruno, or better yet, like yourself, Craig, both, I wouldn't be in a hurry to sell. I know it's tempting as a Ronaldo owner to somehow fit Bruno in.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would be very wise. I think it's worth. We don't have a lot of information. Who knows? Ronaldo could go big. So if you have some form of United already, if you're a sole a Ronaldo owner, a sole Bruno owner, or both, I think we're set, and we just gotta hope and pray.
Yeah,
because I think the fixture run after is pretty good too. That 4 fixture run is pretty good. We're still kind of, at least I am pretty uncertain on what Rangnick's trying to do. So yeah, I think time will be quite precious and powerful for us.
Okay, so if you have Ronaldo, you've been thinking of taking him out, don't hold your horses, according to FPL Nitro. Okay, I think that's double game week 23 pretty much sorted. Anything else you want to add?
What do you think would be a good number of double game weekers to have? Because I feel like we're coming off of a pretty big double game week. Big, I say big, despite the fact that a couple of them got canceled.
Only 2 matches. Yeah, I think it's only 2 matches that got played in the end, didn't they?
Right.
I mean, one double game week, one full double game week, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
this one's more of a mini double game week, kind of like 21. And I think the teams are kind of lackluster, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
I've got 2, and I think 2 is a pretty decent number to have. I think a majority of people might not have Lau, but they might have the pairing of King and Dennis.
Yeah.
What would you say is a good number of double game weekers for this game week to have?
Yeah, I mean, just going on what I have in my team, I have no double game weekers going into 20 as of yet. And I don't think I will, I just feel that the lack of quality in those teams. I mean, I went through the teams just now and went through Burnley's first, and I couldn't pick out a name to put in. I wouldn't bring in a defender because, they haven't been great at the back. I wouldn't bring... If Chris Wood was there, I probably would have. Yeah, funny enough. No pun intended. But if Chris Wood was still at Burnley, I could see myself bringing him into the team. But without him there, I mean, I'm looking at the likes of Jay Rodriguez, Vidra, Barnes. There's no Cornet. Cornet would have been someone that I probably would have looked at. And I just can't see... If it was a free hit, maybe a bit different. I would have gambled and put maybe 1 or 2 of them in there. But I just can't see. I went through the Watford one again. Defensively, I don't trust them enough. I wouldn't bring in a defender. And, with no Ismail Assar there, no real midfielder, goal-scoring midfielder as such. I mean, you're literally looking at 2 players with Watford, and it's Dennis or King. I don't have either. But again, my strike force is Watkins, Ronaldo, and Antonio. And do I want to bring myself to take one of them out? No, I don't think I do. I think they've got some good fixtures coming out, all 3 of them. And it doesn't make sense for me to bring one player in just for this game week and then bring him out again. And there's no... Yeah, I mean, Watford, I think they're good going forward. But... Norwich have improved, haven't they? I mean, they're not the whipping boys that they were before Dean Smith has come. So I don't think they're as easy as everyone is making them out to be. I don't think I'm going to go with a double game weekend coming into this. I could massively regret this, but back to your question, how many should you have? I think just echoing your words, if you have Watford and Burnley players, stick with them. And if you have nothing to clean up in your team, if there's nothing to fix in your team, then maybe if you can afford it, if you have a poor strikers or something like that, if you have a Southampton striker, if you have Broja or Che Adams or something like that, you can look at bringing King or Dennis in. But other than that, I wouldn't go out of my way just to do that. I'd rather bank the free transfer. And I think in 24, Mo Salah comes back. If I'm not mistaken. So you might need that to readjust your team to bring Salah back in. So if you can, bank it. That would be my advice.
I really like the point that you brought up, especially for your circumstance where you mentioned you have no double game weekers, because I think the circumstances, it's tempting to kind of rush in and bring those players in. I have the fortunate privilege because I already have these players.
Okay, so sorry, Nitro, just to cut you in there, right? I mean, you've got King, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be captaining him this week? He's got a double game week.
Yeah, the armband's on him right now.
Yeah.
I think so. As of right now,
Okay.
it just makes sense,
Yeah.
But some of the single game weekers, they have pretty good fixtures too.
So that's what I'm thinking. Like, I mean, I tell you the move that I'm really thinking of right now, and it's Bruno out for either KDB or Foden, and that's the move I'm thinking out of. Like I said, there was nothing to suggest Bruno was going to haul, like he did in this double game week. And being, I watch literally every United match. I don't think I've missed one this season, and I just think he's played really well these last two games. He's kind of stepped up when it's been needed. I don't know. It's a risk if I take him out because he's the informed player, but I don't see that continuing. That kind of form continuing against West Ham. So I'm very tempted to bring in some City coverage in the attacking areas. So I'm really looking at KDB or Foden. I can afford KDB, but I might even go for take a hit and double up and go with KDB and Foden.
Oh,
so, yeah, I could, yeah. Or I'll just go with Foden and keep Bruno. So I've got a few things that I can play around with a bit, but we'll see. But it's a tough one. I'm going to take it right to the deadline with this. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's going right to the wire.
That is interesting. You have a very unique scenario you have at the moment.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't think I'm going to go with a double game week player going into 23.
And you know what? I think that's fine because if today Liverpool had a double game week, you would then want to maybe make the effort to bring in.
100%.
Right. But it's Burnley and Watford.
Exactly.
Right?
You talk about
no disrespect, but it's,
I mean, I don't know. I'm going to check where they are on the table right now. To be fair, but
I mean, Burnley are definitely
we're going to be
bottom.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about like 18th and 19th or something like that, right? I mean, it has to be the case. 17th and 20th. So we're talking about 17th and 20th in the league. I mean, you don't want to be loading your team with those players, only to get rid of them like next week. But King and Dennis are ones you probably want to keep for the long term. I mean, as your cheap striker, your third striker.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to come to the big one, which is your team reveal. If you've already done it, so let's see who you've got. This is it. Talk us through it. And is this what you're set on, or is there a transfer to be made?
I haven't made any moves, and I'm very tempted to roll. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to do. You got De Gea in goal. Your essentials: Trent, Jota. At this point, maybe Bowen and Ronaldo. Loughton, he's playing because of the double fixture. Reguilon against Chelsea. It's going to be a tough fixture, but I think it's worth playing Reguilon over Dalot. I don't know. I feel like I had a lot of hype with Dalot when I brought him in, and it just has not really been shown.
I mean, I've got Dalot as well, and we was on for the clean sheet against Brentford, weren't we? And so I was looking at live FPL rank, and it was a green arrow week for me. And as soon as that goal went in, it just turned into that small red arrow that I was talking about earlier on. And I was just like, no, I mean, like, you're cruising 3-0, just keep the clean sheet. and it was such a soft goal to concede as well, But I would say that he's getting into good areas, I think. He had, I think, a really good save from the Brentford keeper that was going into the top corner, I think it was. Or it went just wide, if you remember. And he's whipping the ball in. So I'm holding on him. I think he's the first choice right back for United right now.
Would you say he's the first choice? Because I think he's been kind of on and off a little bit, right? He played
the double game week, and Wan-Bissaka is still out. He's out with illness. So I think Rangnick said he'd only be back after the international break.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was just before the Brentford match, actually. So I would play Dalot instead of Reguilon.
Okay.
But Reguilon offers a lot going forward as well, to be fair. And Chelsea could be. I like the matchup, to be fair. I think there's a chance there. that he can get something. So yeah, it's a tough one for you.
That's an interesting point you've made about Dallo, because I didn't really have enough information on Dallo, and now that I've heard that,
yeah,
I may have to think on it a bit, because I would definitely prefer this fixture over this one, the Chelsea one.
Yeah,
right?
But again, I mean, Chelsea have got off the boil massively. I mean, it's not the same Chelsea that we saw at the start of the season. You got to remember that, and
True.
they're not as free scoring as they were. I watched them last week. I was at the stadium, like I said, that they were awful. I mean, going forward, they were awful. I mean, City were just all over them throughout the match, and it was a really poor Chelsea performance from an attacking perspective. So just based on that, I don't know. I mean, I like Reguilon going forward. I really do, and I think he'll be up again. Aspie probably. I don't think Reece James is back. That's a good matchup for him, surely, to get in behind.
I'll have to think on it a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a tough one.
It's tough. It's tough. I could see. Okay, I don't know if this helps you, but I could see Reguilon getting a clean sheet more than I can Dallo.
Okay. You know what? I do see that too. I do definitely see that. Spurs have been okay defensively as of late. So
yeah, okay. But
okay.
Okay. Better than United. I mean, I fancy Reguilon more. I would edge towards, I think. So I think you made the right decision there.
Who knows? It might make a knee-jerk move. Bring in
yeah.
We'll
you never know.
Cancelo's there. Trossard, who I brought in for the double game week last week, I was initially thinking of selling him for a City midfielder, but I've remembered that Leicester have been pretty bad defensively. Not saying Brighton any better, but I mean, it might be worth holding that free transfer. Gray is the annoying one. Demarai Gray.
Did you bring him in for the double game week?
I brought him in for the double, and oh my goodness, it was very frustrating. So he's definitely the one in my team that I'm not the most proud of, but I don't know. I'm just going to keep him, let him play.
See, Ronaldo, this is like something similar to what I'm saying about this Watford-Burnley double game week, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone clamored to like bring, Gray and all these players in. But I mean, Everton were just in such a bad run of form, right? And I think it was Norwich that they played, right? And then they ended up losing. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I can't say I was surprised, I didn't bring any in, thankfully, but I mean, this is something similar to what I'm saying about this Watford and Burnley. I mean, you look at it and Norwich on paper, it's a good matchup, and there might be goals. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ruling that out, but I wouldn't go out of my way to bring these players in, to keep them. Now you have a Gray problem, and that puts you in a bit of a position.
Yeah. Oh, well. That was really annoying, by the way, because our last stream, Swang and I, we were talking about the Everton and Norwich game, and we were like, oh, Norwich are bad. Everton are bad too. But surely Everton can't be as bad as Norwich, right? That's famous last words.
Exactly. Then, and now they've got rid of Benitez as well. So, the new manager bounce, you might be in luck.
Or not.
Or not. Oh, God.
So Gray's there. Armband is on King at the moment because he's got a double, and it's definitely better than the Burnley one. Ronaldo's there. I'm really hoping he can find his way back in because, man, I brought in Ronaldo for a hit, and I missed his Burnley haul, and that was the game week I sold him. So it's a lot of pain, and the bench is just Sanchez, Dallo, Broja. And I still have Salah, which I do not regret since he might be back by 24. So don't have to dismantle the team.
I was actually wondering where all your funds were, to be fair.
It's all there in the third bench spot.
Jeez, you kept him, eh?
Yeah. Hopefully that pays off.
Yeah.
I think it will.
Okay, fair enough. And are you going to reveal just before you go to bed? I know it's a late one for you over there in Malaysia, but I mean, you've got a big day ahead of you tomorrow as well.
Yes. So I'm very, very certain I'm going to roll.
Okay.
When in doubt, just roll. So I think what you see here is most likely going to be it. I guess Reguilon and Dallo might be the only thing scratching my mind. But if I'm unsure, I'm probably going to back Reguilon most likely. He's a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So I go with him. But yeah, I'll
Nice.
probably review it soon.
All right. Well, we'll get to the questions and answers with the community as well. I know it's been kind of a lot of people that have been messaging on here. Well, not too many, but a few of them anyway. And so we'll try and get some answers to you shortly. And if you are still watching the stream, please do pop your question down on the right, and Nitro will be more than happy to entertain you and answer your questions. Heidi Ryan, as always, it's good seeing you. Yes, I have been away, like I said earlier on. It's been a big move from KL to Manchester. So, yeah, settled in now. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me. And if you're not aware, guys, Nitro is off to Sydney tomorrow. He'll be moving there for the foreseeable future. But he will still be appearing on our shows. So do wish him the best of luck as well. Dmitry Kirienko, I might be saying that totally wrong. I do apologize. I'll just call you Dmitry. Bernardo Silva to Coutinho or Rafinha, or keep him. Have to go to bed now. Can't wait for possible double game weeks to be announced. To answer the second bit of your question, there won't be any double game weeks announced this late on, as far as I know. So you're okay. But Silva to either Coutinho or Rafinha, or do you keep him? I mean, let's rule Coutinho out of this since Villa don't have a double game week anymore. Silva to Rafinha, or do you keep him? I mean, there's two good fixtures there.
Yeah, I would definitely not be. It's kind of hypocritical now because I wrote about Coutinho, but I wouldn't be too in favor of Coutinho anymore since he doesn't have a double. I think the double would have really pushed his appeal. If you're still in here, Dimitri, will this be taking a hit or is this just a free transfer? I wouldn't be too keen on Bilva to another player for a hit. I would actually keep him if you had to take a hit. I know Bilva's been kind of under the radar since other players like KDB has kind of been taking the spotlight. But if you're doing this with a free transfer, Bilva to Rafinha wouldn't be terrible. The Newcastle fixture is a good one. So yeah, if you are around and you can answer that question, I would be okay with Bilva to Rafinha without taking any hits.
Okay. That was a good question there because
good question.
Like
very good question.
Yeah, because we mentioned earlier, you know, I like the City fixture, and also you mentioned Rafinha versus Newcastle is a very tasty one. Astrolicious, I'm not convinced that if he needs any Watford or Burnley players, honestly. My plan is to go Cucurella to Digne to prepare myself for Villa's double game weeks and for Salah's return. I don't think he needs to panic on the Digne thing right now, does he?
Yeah, especially now that Digne doesn't have a double game week. But Digne has been putting up pretty decent numbers. If you watch, highlights, he definitely gets up involved. And the Digne that we've seen in the past for Everton too. So it's not a terrible idea. And we've had a really long conversation about the double game week fixtures and how Watford and Burnley players, it's not the end of the world if you don't load up on them. So it's good to have that plan, especially how you're going to bring in Salah back. But yeah, you do raise a good point, Craig. I guess the Digne move isn't as urgent now anymore.
Okay, we'll move on. Roger Shane asked, is buying Bergwijn and Jack Harrison a knee-jerk reaction, or are both of them in form? I mean, we talked about Jack Harrison earlier on, didn't we? But Bergwijn's an interesting one. Obviously popped up with us two very, 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 very late goals. But he's always been a bench player for Spurs, hasn't he? He hasn't been, a starter. I mean, I know there's no Son, but could you still see him being on the bench, or does he take Mora's place maybe? Or one of the three midfielders that Spurs have been playing with recently?
I'm not a fan of Bergwijn. Great player, but as you've mentioned, I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I would actually go for Harrison any day over Bergwijn.
Yeah. And it's not a great fixture for Bergwijn, is it?
I mean, he played Chelsea. Yeah. And Harrison has Newcastle. I would definitely put more money on Harrison returning than Bergwijn in this game.
Yeah. Okay. So there you have it, Roger. I hope that answers your question. What's the next one? Since there is double game week, are we going double Watford, attack, Keane, Dennis, and Foster?
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, that's triple Watford. I mean, I was very uncomfortable bringing one in. I mean, what do you think about 3?
Ooh. Well, I don't really like the look of Watford defensively. They're still yet to keep a clean sheet, if I'm not mistaken, right? They still have
I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they've.
I mean, I'd be very surprised if they have.
Yeah. I think they're still the only team that haven't kept a clean sheet. But if you have these guys already without changing anything, it should be worth playing all 3, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Foster.
I mean, what's the goalkeeping situation at Watford right now? I know Foster played the last game, but he didn't play the ones leading up to that. I mean, is it him or Bachmann as the number 1?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also a good factor to consider, like the uncertainty behind who starts. I would probably back Foster a little bit more. Yeah. I would edge towards Foster a little bit, but that's a good thing to consider if you do own some form of Watford goalkeeper that this could very well happen. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Okay. Are you a fan of the King and Dennis double up?
If you have it already, I don't see why not. Okay. But if you only have one, like we mentioned earlier, I wouldn't be too rushed to get the second.
Hadi Ryan says, I know FPL is just a game, but I'm losing my mind every game week. Reminds me of myself, actually, to be fair. I mean, Hadi. It is a really frustrating game, especially when you have a season like we've had this year. I'd love to say that I can help you, but I can't. But what I can say is, Hadi, just chill. I know there's always going to be some sort of frustration that happens within a game week, but you just always got to remember it's just the game. There are better things out there that you can enjoy yourself with your friends, family, whatever it is, to take your mind off FPL for a while. And sometimes I think that's why international breaks are good. It gives a lot of us managers that bit of time off, to kind of just get away from the game and don't even open up the app. Don't even read anything on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you're all right. Then, get back on it, once it leads up to the game week. So don't worry, have a Taytare and just relax. Is it worth taking hits to ensure we get a playing bench? Nitro.
Oh, that's a good question, because I'm definitely on the side that a playing bench is very important, but to take hits.
I mean, with the postponements and COVID and all that, it's important to have a playing bench, but I don't think I'd go out of my way to do it until I play my wild card. So you'd obviously have a wild card in January that's been given. If you're okay, if you've been sailing through it okay, just do that. I wouldn't go out of my way to take hits to get a playing bench. I don't think.
I think if your bench is completely out, like there's not even a single player that can play, maybe worth getting that one player and it'd be okay with a hit. But if you have a couple fodders, right, and they're probably going to play, I think that's still all right. It's the best you can do.
Yep.
Good question. That's a good question.
It is, yeah. I do have to stress the importance of having a playing bench, though. And when I say playing bench, I don't mean fodders like what's his name, Brownhill and people like that. I can't stand it. Like I'm thinking I've seen some top managers have them as well, and I'm just thinking you're getting Brownhill off the bench as a guaranteed maximum 2 points that you're gonna get. Like why? Like just put a little bit more towards it. Get someone that's gonna get a better return or has the potential to get a better return. But you just know every week you're just gonna get, whenever Brownhill comes on, he's gonna get 2 points. And especially, like I say, this season or the last 2 seasons, it's so important to have a playing bench and a strong bench as well. Ashley Licious, are you planning to start attending United home games now that you're in Manchester, Craig? I have been. I've been attending them since I've been here. I've been to 2 home games already since I've been here. So I could have gone to the Burnley one, which actually gave one of the Malaysian footballers the tickets to go and watch, actually. So because he was back for Christmas, so I let him go watch it. And then I was at the Villa match in the FA Cup. I was at the Wolves match in the league. And then I'll be going to West Ham tomorrow. So I've got a season ticket at United, thanks to a friend, which I utilize everything. So I'll be going to a lot of matches in the second half of the season, including the Champions League as well. So looking forward to that one. Yeah, against Atletico Madrid. So it should be fun. But I can't wait for tomorrow's match, actually. United West Ham should be a good game.
That'd be a good one. That's
a good
one.
And West Ham's kind of my second team because a lot of my family comes from that area. So so it's a good match. It's a good match for sure. I'm gonna enjoy that one. Roger Shane says captaincy for game week 23. Defender, midfielder, given some of the single game week matches look good. And yeah, this is something that I said just now, to Nitro. I really like the look at some of these single game week matches over the Watford and Burnley double up. I know Watford have on paper good matches, and I can see the sense in captaining King or Dennis, but you can't ignore the Liverpools, the Cities, and the fixtures that they have.
I've seen talk of a captaincy on Trent, which I personally don't like captains. Yeah, but I mean, there is definitely some sound logic behind the Trent captaincy. Trent's, he's good. He's playing for a Liverpool side that are doing all right, and defensively they've been pretty good too. They still have Van Dijk, so I wouldn't be too opposed to it. I'm not going to do it, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. And we talked about the City.
He's definitely on form.
City. Yeah. And we talked about the City players as well and United players. We expect some goals. And if you have KDB, he would be a good premium pick to go for.
Definitely. Second question from Roger. This time, what do you think the XPO rate is like? XPO equals expected post. Literally, I was thinking, what is that? XPO? I've heard a lot. I've heard of XG and XA and all that, but XPO.
XPO is a new one.
It's a new one. I like it. Cool. Nitro, I'm going to give this one to you.
Well, Roger, I'll be honest. I'm still trying to get to grips with expected postponement as well. It's definitely been tough. I would like to hope it's lower.
There's a lot of data on it, though. I got to tell you.
I don't have enough sound data on it. I don't think Hub even has enough sound data on it. So
that's not a really good answer to your question, Roger. But that's just the realism of it.
Yeah, I think you just never know. I mean, we've seen games postponed 2 hours before kickoff, haven't we? And it's just literally impossible to judge. And I always believe it should be done 24 hours before a match to take in consideration the travel from fans and this and that. I could understand the North London derby last week because there's not a lot of travel involved, but still you'd like to give fans the opportunity to plan their days and so on and so forth. But again, I'm not an expert in this department, so we'll leave it to the experts and let them come up with the best solution. Christopher says, good morning from a cold Minnesota, USA. I do have a good morning from a cold Manchester. I think it's afternoon here, though, but I get where you're coming from. It's cold here anyway. Good morning from cold Minnesota, USA. I do have a question. De Bruyne, Jota, or Dennis as captain? You would have probably missed the first bit of the show. We did say something like this, and we did more recently, but I'm going to give this over to you, Nitro, and give you the comparison single game week versus double game week again.
They're all really good captain options, but if I had to put them in order, it'd be KDB, Dennis, and then Jota. They're all pretty decent captain options, but if I had to put in order, KDB, I feel like the premium aspect, he's somewhat nailed. Southampton, good fixture, and he's got that set piece factor. It's some penalties too, I believe, but I don't know. Pep.
No, Mahrez on penalties.
Oh, okay. Well, that does change things a little bit. I don't know then. Dennis, because of the double game week, and the fixtures are very good for Watford. Jota as well, decent fixture. Liverpool, a very strong side, and he should be
2 goals last night as well. against your team.
Yes,
against
yes,
your
I
team.
saw that. Yes. Oh yeah. I'd still do my order though, but they're all like pretty decent.
Yeah.
Somewhat to the same level. So yeah, KDB, Dennis Jota, and yeah, Minnesota must be really cold right now.
Yes, I know your pain, Christopher. I know your pain. While Nitro's in sunny Penang, sorry.
It's so hot, man. It is so hot.
All right, don't rub it in. I've got a nice little heater next to me while I do this show. So although I'm right up here and zipped up all the way with my hoodie, I'm still fairly warm. Hadi asked, who should I sell Mount for? Got 3.9 million in the bank. Can't go for KDB. Phil Foden.
All right. 3.9 in the bank, and you're trying to get rid of Mount, so you can get maybe a 10 mil player.
Foden, I think Rafinha should be two big ones that you're looking at, really.
Yeah. This is provided you have like Jota and some of those, but yeah. So I would, good points there. Foden definitely, Rafinha. These names that we've been kind of talking about the past few minutes. Yeah, I think those two would be my picks. Rafinha.
I'm just going to throw this in there. If you want to gamble, you could be looking at a cheap option, Elanga. I mean, he seems to play himself into the first 11. I think he's being ignored. He's looked good in the last 2 games, to be fair. Got a goal in the last one. I think he starts against West Ham. Greenwood could be another as well.
Where does Elanga play? Like in the starting lineup?
Left side of midfield.
Left side of midfield?
Left wing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it looks quite promising because he cuts in a lot as well from that left-hand side. So if you saw the goal against Brentford, it's him making those runs into the box as well. So
would
I always
you
like
say
that.
He's like a winger, or he's like an attacking, but on the left side?
I think his role with United, he's more attacking on the left side. But I mean, he has to drop back when he needs to. But he's not your touch chalk kind of thing. He drifts a bit, switches with Greenwood every now and again. But the main thing is that when they don't have the ball on the left hand side, he's coming into the box, which I always like. He's not staying out wide. He's being the additional man in the box. So it's great against Brentford. When Fred puts that ball in, he's there. So interesting. If you want a cheap option, that is. But I would obviously go for Foden or Rafinha. I think that I like those matchups more.
That's an exciting pick though, Elanga.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about bench fodders, I think someone asked that. I think it was Hadi as well who asked about should I have a playing bench or take hits for a bench? I mean, I think Elanga's 4.5, 4.4, something like that.
4.8, I think.
Is he 4.8? Jeez, that's expensive.
4.8.
Is he? Gee, that's expensive. Okay, I don't know if I'll be going and splashing 4.8 on him, but because I mean, he's not long term, I would say. And I think Rashford getting that goal the other week, against Brentford as well in the same match, kind of puts a little bit more pressure on Rashford to be fielded in the starting 11. But I would say Elanga hasn't put a foot wrong in the last 2 games, so I'd expect him to start. But if you want to bench, I mean, you got Brownhill there anyway, so he's going to get you 2 points every game if he comes on. Let's see who else. Roger again. Okay, Asian Peeps, make sure we do our transfer early so we can go to bed at least 10 minutes before the deadline, not 5 minutes before the deadline. Not a good idea like what happened previously. Yes, very important for everyone in Asia to do your transfers before you do head to bed. Do remember it's an early kickoff. Kickoff is in about, I don't know, trying to do the math here. What is it?
Couple hours, 2 hours?
5 hours? Oh, deadline. Sorry, deadline's about 4 hours, right? 3.5, 4.
I think so.
Something like that. Yeah. So do make your transfers. Do sort out your benches and your captaincies. And yeah, good reminder there, Roger. Thanks for that. Ranić might have leaked Man United having a double game week 25. Oh,
really?
What's he said? I haven't seen his press conference because I've been doing the show. So, yeah. Do tell us what he said, Hadi. That'll be very interesting. But it is further down the line. I think it's like 3 weeks before we get to that anyway. So we'll have a look. Christopher says, ZZ, dude. Yeah,
I think is that going to be
yeah. Okay, I think that's for you, Nitro, not me. By the way, it's minus 21 here.
Oh,
time
my
for some
God.
hot coffee. Need to be bathing yourself in that hot coffee, mate. Like minus 21. Jeez, that's not even living conditions. I thought I had it bad here, and we're not even below zero. Thanks, dudes. You two are awesome. Thanks for watching, Christopher. Haven't seen you on here before, but I do hope you do like and subscribe to the video. Give us a follow. And yeah, we try to aim to do 1 to 2 videos every game week. So to keep you guys in it. I think that's all the questions we have for now. Nitro, gotta say a massive thank you to you, not only for coming on the show today, but for filling in my place so brilliantly over the past few weeks. And I need to wish you, for all those that are still watching, Nitro's about to embark on a journey himself. He's moving to Sydney in Australia in a few hours' time, I believe. And yeah, for the next how many years?
For 5 years, I believe. But I'll be back in
5 years. Yeah. So he'll be based there for 5 years for studies. Just on behalf of FPL Expectations, I want to wish you all the best in your move. Yeah, we're always here, and we'll keep in touch as always. And you're always welcome on the show. I know the time difference might be a bit of an issue, but let's see if we can manage it. I think it's 11 hours you mentioned, right? You're 11 hours ahead. 11 hours ahead of me, so that'll be very interesting. We're struggling with 8 as it is, so let's see how 11 goes. But yeah, I mean, like, wish you all the best. Hope your studies go well and you settle in very well. And I'm sure on behalf of everyone watching as well, we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Craig. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk FPL, and I'm very excited as well for the move. So yeah, just hoping everything goes well. Thank you as always for having me on.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. And thank you all for watching today. It's been a pleasure. It's been really good to be back and talk FPL. I've missed it so much, but I'm going to try and make myself a lot more available than I have been over the past month. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe to our FPL Expectations YouTube channel. We're going to come on with more content as we do every week, 1 to 2 videos a week. We get some of the very best in here. We've got the likes of Nitro, who's been absolutely scaling at the top of these FPL world overall lead. Actually, that's a good question. Nitro, what's your current rank? I forgot to ask you that. What is it?
It went back down to 8.5, I think, or
8.5K.
Yeah.
It's still an okay rank, but it definitely was a fall from grace.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, you've got enough time to get yourself back up there anyway. So we wish you all the best in that.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, do like, subscribe, let your friends know if they play FPL. Do watch our show. Thank you all for watching with us. It's been great coming back, and all the best in that small double game week 23. This is Craig Marias. Do give me a follow at Craig Marias11. Do give Nitro a follow as well. It's at FPL Nitro. He's always got some good content. Writes some great articles as well on all about FPL. So do tune in. Thank you, and out.